Hello and welcome. I'd like to talk to you today about a product called NeuralSeek. And NeuralSeek is a tool that is a multi-agent LLM orchestration engine. And what that does for you is allows you to take large language model back processes that have knowledge across structured and unstructured data sources, downstream actions, different language models, and run those things in parallel at very high speed to answer complicated business questions and problems. A lot of times, users will come in and have an expectation that simple questions can have direct answers, when actually behind the scenes, forming an answer for some questions can be very hard. Like take, for example, this demo here at an appliance website asking, what would you like to find and buy? Now, what we're going to do is actually drop a picture into this chat. So we're going to take this picture of a refrigerator that has some measurements and dimensions on it. And we're going to load it into the chat. And then we're going to say, I want to buy this. Because ultimately, today, we need to talk to the newer generation of buyer, the one that is fueled by TikTok, the one that is fueled by Instagram, that wants to just show what they want to buy and not necessarily talk and describe it in detail. So here we go. I want to buy this. Now, what's going on behind the scenes is we're flowing through a bunch of different language models. The first one, a multimodal model, that then brought us up to show us, hey, here's exactly what we're seeing inside that picture. It pulled the dimensions off. It pulled off that it was a steel French door refrigerator with a bottom freezer. It was able to go and actually run through NeuralSeek and do a dynamic lookup, generating SQL statements, pulling information out of a structured database, and then merging that in with unstructured data to get the details around the refrigerator, and then pull together both an offer, a pricing, and a stocking all together in one pull in a very short amount of time. Like you saw me type that in, that was in real time. The whole answer took less than 10 seconds to come through, understand the picture, and provide a pitch to the customer. And then we can even ask follow-on questions, right? So I asked, is it energy efficient? And I misspelled that. The system identified that I was asking a follow-on question and linked the two questions together, looked up the answer inside of the knowledge base, and answered the question directly. Let's look at another example. Like maybe I've got a pool of data and I want to talk to more of a business analyst type person. So I can come in to a system and start either asking questions directly or maybe select some questions out of a predefined list. And we can pull dynamically from databases and corporate data, merge those together, and then do charting and graphing on top of it, as well as insights as to why the chart might be showing the information it's showing. This sort of thing can drive a lot of insights that junior analysts might not be able to pick out directly as much as a senior analyst might be able to understand. This one here is a healthcare example, and it provides a lot of interesting insights as to potential issues and areas with these patients. As an analyst, I can see the exact SQL statement that was formed. I can even download the data set that I want. Here's another one that we can look at as well, more of a tax situation. Very similar, being able to ask direct questions into the data, not knowing the data structure, not knowing the data's format, but then being able to use NeuralSeek behind the scenes to help formulate dynamic SQL and then drive insights from the data directly into charting. Now, for all of these, These demos and systems were snapped together in about 30 to 45 minutes. And it was all made possible through the no-code platform that NeuralSeek provides. So when I start to look at some of these things that are coming back, I will show you the exact way that these things are built. So let's dive into that background right now. Inside of NeuralSeek, like I mentioned, it is a no-code multi-agent system. So as you're seeing here in the agent builder, I can snap together lots of different agents automatically routed and then run through back-end processes to give answers or define pathways I want to take. Now for these demos that you saw, we can dive into the exact back end of those. Like this one is that image product stock demo, where I dropped in an image and I brought back live product stock. Now the way that we do this is by dividing the problem up through lots of individual language model calls in parallel. Like you can see, I'm doing 2 language model calls in this flow with a subordinate flow that does 2 additional, as well as my DB2 or database lookup and my knowledge base search for unstructured data. And all of that information is merged and melded together. So these 4 language model calls, the knowledge base and the database call, come back in just a few seconds. So that amount of power, plus the ability to debug by step, is what NeuralSeek does. All of this just snaps together in minutes. Let's look at another one. This one is the demo for that dynamic SQL generation and charting that you saw earlier. Again, lots of language model calls happening in parallel. We have the one answering the question, the one forming the chart, the one gaining the insight, all of it running through a dynamic SQL generation routine that we're able to take and templatize. Like for this case, we're looking at Postgres this time, reading in from a data dictionary that helps us describe what's inside of that database, sending that out to a language model to then describe what's inside of the data and turn that into SQL, and then running that down into an actual query inside of the database. Now, with all of these pieces, we've got very special magic functions that allow us to sanitize the data that's coming out of the language model, do SQL cleansing so we can ensure that there's no prompt injections and that the SQL is safe and clean and true so that we can run it directly on that database. Now, as I'm building these things, the build process is very easy. Like I can come in and test out the whole system. I can ask a question and then run the evaluate. And then in just a few seconds, I'll be able to see the full process that happened behind the scenes, where the data came from, how it stepped through all of the processes. Everything is laid out for me. From coming down to cleansing the SQL and seeing the cleansed SQL statement that came through, running down into the actual database, turning that into data that was then fed up into the front end of the system. All of these things come automatically in the system. Now, as I'm flowing through, there's a strong governance perspective of this as well. So I can see things like run times. I can see things like average inference time. So as I'm running through this, because we're running in parallel, I can see that the total of the language model times is way more than the overall runtime of the system, showing that I'm parallelizing this very well. We also do direct caching inside of the system. So when we come in with the same question, we can remove the need to go to the language model, which saves lots of time and lots of money. Now, if we look at the dashboarding for one of the other ones for this image model, the image models tend to be very expensive. So when I look at the dollars saved, that'll be a lot more. Like in this case, for just the few runs I've run in this demo environment, it cost me $7. and I saved over $1 in caching. I can also see the time in other pieces as I ran through. I can see the total tokens generated. And then I can also see cost insights. So I can compare the model that I used with other competitive models to see, hey, if I moved up or down in capability, would I save money? Could I remove the need to go to such cost and say, hey, if I bumped it down slightly in capability, I would shave 30 to 40 to 50% off the cost that I'm spending. So a lot of insights into how the system is performing, and in general, how fast things are coming back, and what I'm seeing overall in the environment, helping me to tune the system and identify where I can get the best performance out of it. All of this is provided to you at a very easy cost model, very easy to build, and then able to govern and maintain and iterate. This can be built purely by business analysts. No developers are required. No Python is required. We aim to make all of this easy. When it comes down to the build process, let me show you how easy it is to build. So let's say I want to come in and run and build a brand new template. Usually what we do is just drop a use case directly into here. So I can take a statement like this, grab the latest news from Fox News and MSNBC, rate the political coverage, create a list of the top 10 stories for each platform, and recommend a reading list for me to get balanced news feed. And I can take this and I can run it and automatically generate a template inside of Maestro that's going to build and run this. And there is my template. And so it is automatically built all of the infrastructure to do these pieces, including what looks to be 5 parallel language model calls. And so I'm going to run this through a language model of my choice, and we support over 60 individual language models. And so I'm just going to click on the evaluate button. This will run across all of the live website scrapes, the 5 language model calls. It will come back in a few seconds, and then I can download the answer as either PDF or HTML or Microsoft Word and go out and run through my business. And there it is. And now it's done. The whole process took mere seconds. If I wanted to, I could go back and debug and see all of the steps that were taken as part of the process. It's easy. It's fast. It's no code. It's NeuralSeek.